welcome to TechSparks 2020. My name is Divya Bajaj. I am Vice President of London and Partners. London and Partners is London's official trade and investment agency with a focus of taking or helping Indian companies set up and scale in the City of London. Joining me today is Deepak Ramesh, the founder and CEO of Source Easy. I will bring him in to tell you a little bit more about the solution he offers. The session today is focused on innovate locally and collaborate globally. Deepak, good to have you with us.
Thank you, Divya. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
So let's get started, Deepak. I'd like to know a little bit about yourself, Source Easy, the idea of Source Easy, where it came from. Over to you.
Thank you, Divya. Well, it's been a very interesting journey. I was born in Bangalore, grew up in Bangalore, went to school in Bangalore, college in Bangalore. Being from an IT city, even though I did my graduation in commerce, in those days, you obviously got sucked into this whole IT, environment, and I'm very glad that I did get sucked into that. So I did my postgraduate, diploma in systems administration and so on and so forth after I finished my commerce, and got into my first business when I was 24. Got into my second business when I was 28, and Source Easy was basically born because I moved to Dubai in 2004. Working for a large global, e-procurement solution company, and being part of heading the sales team there, I got to meet over 300-400 odd CEOs and CFOs of organizations. Of course, success came slow, but it was a challenge. You obviously need to go out, reach out to a lot of clients and so on and so forth. But when the opportunity came up that we were meeting so many new customers, and the number of customers or the number of new clients signing up was taking time in this entire e-procurement solution, my partner and I said, hey, listen, there has to be a solution for the smaller businesses. And that's how Source Easy was born. We said, let's build a platform that can give access to small businesses, apart from the larger ones, of course, who can completely streamline their sourcing process on a digital platform to get benefits of being able to add, 5 to 7% of their procurement costs to their bottom line, right? And that's how Source Easy basically was born.
Right. Now, it's interesting because you're sitting in Dubai and you could basically go anywhere in the world. So what was your draw to India per se?
Well, Divya, look, India is, it's one of the fastest growing economies in the world, right? You've got over 65 million MSMEs in India. And the way we look at India was there's a huge, tremendous market potential to augment and bring these vendors onto our platform to be able to serve customers. So we've got an e-sourcing platform where clients come in. If I may just take a minute to explain how this typically works, is that in a manual scenario, when any organization, be it a manufacturing organization, or retail, or hospitals, or hospitality, or real estate, or services, internal requisitioners or internal customers will send requisitions to the procurement team, and then the procurement team sends out the request for proposal to its vendors manually. When I say manually, I mean by email. What typically happens in a procurement process is that requisitions come in from internal, stakeholders to the procurement team. Procurement team will then send out inquiries to its bunch of vendors. Vendors will then respond back either through email, or sometimes on phone calls. And then negotiations happen manually, which means I need to talk to one vendor at one time. I can't speak to two vendors at the exact same time, and so on and so forth. This also brings in some form of opacity for top management. CEOs, CFOs, the finance department, legal, in many cases don't have transparency in this whole sourcing process, right? So with a platform like ours, where your requisitions are captured online, your CEO, CFOs, your finance team, the entire organization can be mapped in. You've got matrix that can be plugged into the system. And you can send out these inquiries to vendors, get in a lot more vendors to respond. Negotiations are very transparent. And then, of course, taking that call to who to award that business to becomes a lot easier. So, that's where we saw a really big vacuum in the market. And we're making a small effort to try and, bridge that gap and see how we can, bring this to smaller organizations. But having said that, of course, larger organizations are now, hopping on board SourceEasy and, making use of the platform, making sure that they're getting the benefit that we'd initially intended. So I'm very happy with that.
Right, like they say, nothing's more powerful than an idea whose time has come.
Absolutely 100% correct.
Now, focusing on India, Deepak, would you say it's been easy doing business in India?
Well, if you look at India, setting up businesses in India, especially for startups, is easy. The paperwork that's involved to set up an organization, to set up the infrastructure, to set up an office, it's not that complicated. And you've got a plethora of service organizations like tax consultants, or you've got consultants that will help you set up your infrastructure and HR and so on and so forth. It's not difficult to set up, especially for startups. And of course, I think the government is making a lot of effort in terms of it's always been one of the benefits of setting up an office in India, primarily because of the fact that it is huge. I mean, it's an ocean by itself, and it gives you access to a large talent pool as well.
That's fantastic opinion. I usually talk to companies from London looking at a presence in India, and ease of doing business is a term that constantly gets asked. So that's good to hear. One of the other things I really wanted to know is how Indian consumers, now you being a tech company, how open are Indian consumers or businesses to new technology, innovation, ideas? And how easy or difficult is it to sell something that's newly innovation?
The Indian consumer, Divya, is actually quite aware of technology that will enable growth. This has always been the case. The question and the challenge is when the decision making takes a certain amount of time. If top management are able to socialize this whole concept of technology to be able to enable growth, decision making would become a lot faster and will give companies like us a splurge of business.
Right, absolutely. And for India being the tech nation, globally we're known as the tech nation. So it's good to hear that actually on ground and in reality, founders and consumers are open to the idea of new technology. Given the time that we just had, going through rather, it's not in the past, the whole new normal, what is some of the advice you have for some of our startups or scale-ups that have logged into this session today, post-COVID or while COVID?
The COVID is, it's brought an uncertainty to several businesses, in terms of market contraction, the whole supply chain challenges, human resources management. And I think health and safety has taken precedence over, bottom line results. Having said that, of course, businesses are built to make profits. And there's what people call a new normal today. Companies are looking at using digitization where you have a contactless option of reaching out to clients, engaging with them, and using a platform like SourceEasy enables that both from the buyer side and the vendor side. Where buyers can reach out to vendors online. Like today we're doing this call, which is not physical, but we're doing this call, online. it has made businesses lot more open to having meetings online, and with COVID, coming in, obviously, you've got to keep your costs as low as possible. As an organization, Source Easy has taken a conscious decision. The top management would take, um, a cut in our pay for some time, keeping the teams, intact without touching the team, and making sure that the teams are there. Having said that, one thing that we did was to completely switch the whole model and go into massive action mode during COVID. And the reason that could happen for companies like us is because customers were willing to give you meetings online. Where pre-COVID, a lot of clients would ask you to come to their office and meet and present, which is great. You need to have that physical meeting. But in the absence of that physical meeting, online meetings have made businesses faster. We've been able to throw a lot many more stones in that sense to reach out to a lot more customers. Decision making again takes a little bit of more time because of the fact that senior management are not meeting in person to take that decision. But we've been able to succeed because of massive action. We've been able to succeed because we're reaching out to far more number of clients.
Right, and that's possible. In fact, you hit the nail on the head. It's been my experience over the last few months that while you are, while there is a possibility of reaching out to a lot more companies, so your pipeline's that much more healthier. Thanks to COVID, you're saving travel time, you're getting appointments quickly, it's easy to jump on the next call in the next 10 minutes, but that doesn't change decision making. Sometimes I even feel that there's a delay in decision making simply because India is such a relationship driven market. Do you agree with that? I mean, do you see that happening?
Well, I agree and disagree. I agree because every market is a relationship-based market. India, of course, is a lot more relationship-based. You've got to meet the client. Look, nobody is going to buy any product from you if they don't like you. Having said that, you can't win every customer. We are looking for people who are looking for us. We are looking for people who want to make sure that they are, reducing the costs of procurement, bringing in transparency, and adding that to the bottom line. And with more clients being reached out to, you will eventually find companies, wanting to get onto that platform. But you've got to reach out. You've got to reach out to as many clients as you can.
Right, and given the scale of this country, it makes it that much more easier.
India is a huge market. India is a massive market. So is the GCC. So is Europe. I mean, look, for platforms like us, the world is they say the world is your oyster. You can go out and reach out, but you should be able to go and reach out. You should be able to get certain processes right. Give the value that the client is looking for. That value is very, 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 clear. That clients know what they want. Customers know exactly what they want.
So focus on the value proposition.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Looking ahead, what's next for Source Easy? Now that you've done the Dubai, you've done the Bangalore, what's up next?
Well, we've got clients in Dubai. It's been an interesting journey. We got angel funded a few years ago, which gave us a platform to, build on the technology, get in the sales team, build the basic foundations of what an organization is built on. Going forward, when I met you, Divya, the first time with London and Partners, it was very clear that London is an option that you cannot dismiss. You have to get, with your help, with the help of London and Partners. I've had many interactions. I in fact bumped into a very close friend of mine a couple of days ago, and in conversation, he says, we've used London and Partners and we've set up our office in London and it's been fabulous. And they said, you couldn't get a more professional organization. Now, since we've been talking about setting up that office in London, going forward, you've got, the Middle East covered, you've got a part of India covered, with online, you've got a little more bigger parts of India covered, and then you've got got to expand primarily. We're looking at going to England sooner than later because it's a very welcoming city. It's great for the kids. You know, if you're looking at moving as a family, there's a huge talent pool there, and you can expand into other markets from being in London.
It's interesting that you said access to talent and global aspirations because so as London and partners, we speak to a lot of founders and support their journey into the city of London. Of course, to achieve that, we work and partner with the UK government and the Department of International Trade as well. Some of the learnings that we've seen, very much like the friend you met who said he's found our services useful. Some of the takeaways that we have, our companies really immensely look forward to talent that is available
Absolutely, absolutely.
and yes, like you mentioned, family aspect, it's a great city to be. Looking at globally, you know, you could expand into Europe or US or China. Those corridors are extremely busy.
That's
And
right.
all fantastic points, Deepak. You know, one of the things that I did want to tell you is that the hand holding doesn't stop with you landing in London, right? We also have one of the largest and awarded one of the best accelerator programs to help you scale in the city of London. And what's more is that all these services are free, right? So
That's right.
the government's focused on getting you there, getting you scale, bringing value and innovation to the ecosystem of London, and it's for free. So, you know, I'm very happy to that you're considering it and to take conversations forward in that front. One of the last questions I wanted to ask you is that you've come from Dubai, which is a cosmopolitan by itself, a fantastic city. The expansion could have taken you Middle East, could have taken you to Southeast Asia. You chose India next, you know, maybe because it's you know the ecosystem, you're from here. But what then put London on the radar? You know, the whole London angle from Dubai, Bangalore. Why London?
If you look at London, Divya, you know, being such a vast cosmopolitan city that it is, there are roots of organizations that are global, that are already in London, that are already based in London, right? There are lots of organizations from different parts of the world that either have branch offices in London or are based out of London, and there's a talent pool, you know, that you can definitely look at. Very similar to India. You know, India's got a fantastic talent pool. So does London. You know, India is a huge, you know, massive when I say massive organization, the sheer number of, you know, companies that are there. And London has got access to a lot of manufacturing, you know, businesses, manufacturing, retail, you know, hospital. I work with a hospital in North London, in the north of the UK, and they're very happy using our platform. You know, being locally present there would give clients, you know, access to a lot more services. You know, and of course we should be able to also bring in the talent pool that's required for that particular region. You know, so it's a great place to be in.
Just on a signing off note, the top three advice points that you would give companies that have logged in today, smaller companies, startups, scale-up companies, to sustain themselves during the time that we're all going through, which is hard. So what would be your three good takeaways for them?
First thing, I keep having conversations with my angel investor in, you know, in Dubai, and he always says, keep your costs low, cut your costs, absolutely keep them as low as possible. That's one advice during these times. Absolutely important to keep your costs low. The second thing that I would say is go absolutely berserk reaching out to new clients. Clients want you to reach out to them if you want them to know that you have a product or a service to offer. And you have to reach out to these clients. You have to go, you know, hammer and tongs, make sure that you reach out to these clients, tell them what you have, you know. And the third thing is this whole new normal. We sometimes tend to forget that during these times of COVID, we have invaded into the space of our family, Working from home never ends. We pick up the phone the minute we wake up in the morning, and you go check your emails. Your work day starts at 8, doesn't end till it ends, which is probably post 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the evening sometimes. That doesn't end. So I think the third portion is to kind of be a little more patient with your children. I'm talking to myself while I'm talking to you. That we've invaded their space, so we need to be a little more mindful of the fact that they do want their dads and moms around at some point in time. So that's what it is.
Fantastic points, Deepak. Everyone in my house knows what time I have calls and not to make a noise during that bit. So very nicely put. Um, Hopefully, we work together some more and get to support your move into the city of London. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Tech Sparks 2020.